So we look, in our country today, we're divided as Democrats and Republicans primarily, okay? And basically the Democrats hate the Republicans and the Republicans hate the Democrats. And what's unfortunate as believers, that we have bought into these political labels, and we sort of ruined our own testimony. And what I mean is that we are supposed to be separate. And when the Bible talks about us and speaks on being sanctified, being set apart, of course we're not set apart from humanity, because we are God in their midst, or we're supposed to be an example of God, or at least a conduit of God, or at least a reflection of God, sort of to help them see in all actuality the God that's in them that maybe they're just not realizing yet. So although we're to be sanctified, set apart, we recognize it's not in a physical way, but it would be sort of in a political way, and things that we have bought into. We need to recognize that. So when we gravitate in the political realm toward particular parties, what we're doing is we're desanctifying ourselves, okay, and identifying ourselves with either the Democrats or the Republicans. I want to share with you quickly, briefly, but very carefully, the similarity between the political situation we have and the marriages that we're living in. Okay? And what I'm suggesting today, just to give you a little upfront of where I'm coming with this, is that this country has definitely been blessed by God. Okay? Now we have a lot of ills, and we've always had a lot of ills, and we've probably had more ills in the past than we have today, or a different kind of ills. We're kind of jacked up, we've fallen astray, and we're not really functioning as children of God as we should, but we do believe somewhat, right? So what I'm sharing with you today is the problem when you attach yourself, as a believer, to say, well, as a Democrat or as a Republican, that there are good aspects of being a Republican, there are good aspects of being a Democrat, but there are also bad aspects of both. And let me give you an example. Say the Republican, conservative, okay, anti-abortion, and anti a bunch of other things that even as a religious person you might hold dear to your heart. Oh man, yeah, that's great. That's why I'm a conservative Republican, because of the anti-abortion issue. But then you recognize the embracing of war, or even as sort of in this particular climate over the past, say, 5 or 6 years in our country, the terrorist issue and all this, and we have a problem with Muslims and Islam, and we're getting brochures and we're getting DVDs, demonizing people who are not like us, who are not American, who hate Americans and all this, sort of stirring up sort of an anti-Muslim fervor, an anti-Middle Eastern fervor, against people who are not like us. And what I'm sharing with you today is, although the anti-abortion issue might be dear, and we can justify that, as far as the teachings of Jesus and all, we cannot justify demonizing a whole group of people, whether they be religious or not. Now, if we want to find some kind of analogy, even in Scripture, the only people who were demonized were the religious people who embraced the same God that Jesus was from, okay? So it wasn't even about people who were not of the religion, so-called religion, that Jesus was supposed to have come forth from and for. The people who were anti-Jesus were actually the religious people from the religion that Jesus was prophesied to come up through, right? So recognize that. So although we might be a Republican and embracing the anti-abortion issue and some of the other issues that might be close to our heart, when we demonize and we find a way to justify killing, and hating people who are not like us, that's totally anti-Jesus, anti-Christ. So you got the Republican situation here with positive Christian values, but values also that are definitely anti-Christ, okay? For real, teachings of Jesus. Love God and love each other. Democrats the same. Now you have Democrats, you might have a situation where you enjoy the social aspect of it, how the love of Jesus, caring for people, caring for the poor, taking care of these and taking care of those people who are without. And that's a positive aspect. But then you might go to the abortion issue. We're using abortion because we can all pretty much agree, that the traditional Christian thought about abortion is negative, because it's killing, right? So you embrace the social issues of the Democratic Party because they are positive and they are showing love and help and care toward those who are less fortunate. But on the other hand, there is a pro-choice where go ahead and have your abortions or whatever. It's your choice. It's okay to kill. And so with both parties, you're embracing certain aspects of traditional good Christian moral, attributes, but as well, you are also embracing the negatives that allow you to kill or to hate or to do things that you shouldn't do, take the lives of the innocents and all. And so we need to recognize that from a secular standpoint, that Democrats and Republicans love the country, okay? They just have different ways, different ideas, ideologies, different beliefs. And we as believers need to recognize that these are parties of the world. These are particular ideologies of world and secular thought that we've attached ourselves to in this political climate. And it's not right. Okay, it's not right. Now you can go ahead and vote for who you want to vote for, but when you call yourself a Democrat, you're taking on all of those attributes, both positive and negative. Call yourself a Republican, you're taking on those attributes, both positive and negative. And we're using as a litmus test what is positive and what is negative by the teachings of Jesus. Jesus said, 2 commandments I give you, that you love God with all of your heart and you love each other, your fellow man. Recognizing the connection that all people have with each other as we are all creation of the Creator God, the source. And so recognize that. But the Democrat and Republican idea in this country is not a bad thing. We just as believers need to recognize that we are set apart, okay, and not necessarily to embrace those things. Be prayerful about who you vote for, but don't embrace entire doctrine and ideologies of either side. You're not a Democrat. You're not a Republican. If you're a disciple of Jesus, that's what you are, okay? But the positive thing, even about the Democrat and the Republican idea, is the fact that there is balance there. And that's what I see, even in the United States, as corrupt as we might be a lot of times, maybe most of the time, it's obvious there's a divine hand, or there has been, on this country. And even as jacked up as we've been, and the suffering that we've had to endure because of our rebellion against the Creator, we have still survived. There's still a remnant left. We're still okay. There's still hope, okay? What I'm saying is that the process, the Democratic and Republican, this is like a balance, a divinely inspired balance in this country. Now, because for instance, if you take a Republican, or you take the whole Republican ideas, and there was no balance, there were no Democrats, the whole Republican ideology, folks, would destroy that which we call America, okay? I mean, of course, there'd be a lot of conservative, and positive ideas and all, but there would be a lot of people harmed, a lot of people thrown under the bus, a lot of people lost by the wayside. Be jacked up. Take the Democratic ideas, and a lot of good social programs, but if you just gave everything away, totally liberal, we would be destroyed as well. This country could not survive simply with the Republican ideology. We would be destroyed. The country could not survive with simply the Democratic ideologies. We would be destroyed as well. There is a divinely inspired balance here with the Democrats and the Republicans. Neither, these are opposites, but these opposites are working seemingly against each other, but really to keep the other in check so that we don't destroy ourselves. It's a divinely inspired balance. And if we could just recognize that everybody doesn't think the same. We think differently for reasons. If everything that God had created for a purpose, and God stepped back and said this was good, this was the same as man. And now man, God had to go ahead and, make woman, So, but when God had made woman, this was good, and God was well pleased. We need to recognize that. There is a balance. And see, as Democrats and Republicans, we need to stop hating each other and recognizing that we think the way we do because we think the way we do, and as we think the way we do, so does someone else. And so when I look on Fox News and I see Sean Hannity and he's ticking me off, I have to recognize that he and O'Reilly, come on now, they really feel the way they do, honestly. And then you try to look at Chris Matthews or Keith, what's his name, and Rachel Maddow, they really feel the way that they do.